welcome back, WrestleRant, to the 67th edition of WrestleRant. I am, of course, your host, Bleacher Report, Bleacher Columnist, Level 2, here tonight to discuss the August 24th edition of Friday Night SmackDown. A very good show here to break it down for you right here on WrestleRant. To kick off the show, opening segment featuring the World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus, the ex-number-1 contender, Alberto Del Rio, Randy Orton, and the SmackDown General Manager, Booker T. They pretty much set up the main event in the main event of the evening. Nothing really new here. If you haven't noticed, we've been seeing the same old shit in the opening segment of SmackDown every single week now between Del Rio and Sheamus and Booker T. Throwing Orton, it's still the same thing. So this wasn't really anything new. It wasn't bad. It was, it was mostly decent, but we've just been seeing the same thing for weeks to kick off the show, which is not something that I'm enjoying. It's kind of repetitive. Del Rio bitches about not getting the world title match. Booker T makes a match in the main event. Sheamus just stands there like a fool. It's the same thing every week. They kind of got to change it up next week, so I don't see Sheamus, Del Rio, or Booker T opening up the show with a promo. I'd much rather not see that kick off the show every single Friday night consecutively. The first match of the night that we got, Ryback defeating Jinder Mahal to officially put an end to the feud, or so we think. The match itself was fine. Nothing all that much to write home about here. Decent match. Ryback and Mahal have had a decent feud in recent weeks. At least it's giving people, both of them giving something to do, and just in the meantime, so they're not just randomly just using squash matches as an excuse for not putting these guys in a match or in a feud together. So thankfully this is over. It wasn't really doing all that much for me or for anyone else. We obviously knew that Mahal wasn't a threat to the streak at all. So hopefully Ryback can move into a program here with either maybe someone like Jack Swagger, who just so happens to be a former World Heavyweight Champion, maybe The Miz over the IC Championship. Just a solid mid-carder that Ryback can still continue to get over. Because if you're not hearing those chants on SmackDown, some of those aren't chimed in. Some of those aren't, piped in cheers. Those are legitimate feed me more chants. It's amazing this guy's getting way over with the crowd, and I finally understand why he's a babyface as opposed to a heel, despite his aggressive tactics. Next, moving on, we had the Divas match. Divas champion Layla defeating Alicia Fox. Again, okay match, nothing all that terrible. Definitely better than the Battle Royale that we saw from the Divas on Monday, so it was definitely better than that. The match itself was, it was what it was. Layla takes home the victory here, not all that surprising. But, yeah, as I said, it wasn't as bad as some people expect. Layla is a very good worker inside the ring. She's very underrated, in my opinion. Alicia Fox, same thing. I don't think she's underrated, but she's definitely not bad inside the ring. I definitely think that she's, improved over in recent years. So, fine match, and then we build towards Caitlyn versus Layla for the Divas Championship. Finally, a program in the Divas title picture. Finally, we have a feud for the Divas on WWE television. Extremely excited about that. 2 Divas matches in 1 week, another thing that shocked me. Another nice move. Then Eve came down, celebrated the victory with both Layla and Caitlyn. That was a bit strange. Obviously this isn't a face turn or anything. She was getting booed regardless, obviously. So she's probably just kissing up so she can get a promotion or just get a Booker T's pants or something like that, if you know what I mean. Next match up, we have Heath Slater versus Cara. We've seen this match 1,000 times before. Again, nothing new here. The match was fine for what it was. Heath Slater shockingly taking home the victory due to help with Cody Rhodes at ringside. So that kind of shocked me. It didn't disappoint me. I'm glad to see Heath Slater pick up a victory. He kind of needs victories. I think he could be a solid mid-carder. I definitely think that he could be a threat to the IC or United States Championship if taken seriously. So I think this win does wonders for him, especially over a guy like Sin Cara, who rarely loses anyways. But I do like the fact that they're building upon this feud towards Sin Cara and Cody Rhodes. It's a good feud in my opinion. Cody Rhodes hasn't been relevant in months since dropping the Intercontinental Championship to Christian, even before that when he was buried by Big Show after WrestleMania. So I'm glad they're finally giving him something to do, continuously featuring him on SmackDown, which is good. Same thing with Sin Cara. I'd much rather see this feud with Cody Rhodes than him just going through the motions every week with these squash matches. So I'm liking that they got a feud here, and the shocking upset with Heath Slater picking up the victory. Next matchup, World Heavyweight Champion Sheamus taking on Dolph Ziggler. Good match. We've seen 1,000 times before, though. So it kind of seems like a recurring pattern, you know what I mean? Throughout this entire episode of SmackDown, we've seen these matches just so many times that they've pretty much lost their they're luster by this point in time. But nonetheless, it was a good match. A lot of good chemistry between these two guys. both former United States champions. Sheamus picks up the victory here, but not via pinfall, via disqualification after Dolph Ziggler brutalized the Celtic Warrior and hitting him over the head with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Was about to cash in, but deemed that Sheamus was not vulnerable enough to cash in his briefcase, thus backing off and then saving his briefcase title shot for another day. Or later in the night, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So yeah, again, a good match. It wasn't really nothing all that exciting. We've seen this 1,000 times this year, so I really don't have any excitement towards this match. But I did like the booking and having Ziggler lose by disqualification. Obviously, he wasn't going to defeat Sheamus. When was the last time Sheamus lost a match? Lost a match, tag team match, singles match. From what I read today, he's on a 14-match winning streak. So I don't think they would have him job to Ziggler here, but having Ziggler lose via DQ and making him look strong by beating down Sheamus is good booking in my opinion. Next up, a meaningless promo from Santino Marella. Just talking about how he lost at SummerSlam and his stupid little sock puppet thing, the Cobra. Then thankfully, Antonio Cesaro came out a few minutes later, just talking in different languages and all that shit, and beat down Santino, thus ending the segment. So as I tweeted earlier when I was watching SmackDown Live, if anyone was flipping through the channels while watching Sci-Fi tonight or just watching SmackDown or whatever, and they're just flipping through the channels looking for something to watch, they would probably think that Santino was mentally challenged. Mostly for the fact that he was talking to his hand, he was talking to the sock, and now the Cobra apparently has a mind of its own. I don't know. It's a load of shit. Don't really care about Santino or this whole shit that he's got going on. It's nothing all that surprising. It's Santino, so I'm not going to get pissed about it. But thankfully, the segment was saved when Santino got beaten down by Antonio. So thankfully, there was a saving grace of this segment. Cesaro has been looking excellent in recent weeks since his first initial victory over Santino. Since then, he's been getting momentum every single week that he's been on SmackDown. Capitalizing or climaxing with the U.S. title victory this past Sunday at SummerSlam. So I hope that they continue to push him going forward and they don't have him drop the belt back to Santino if that's what they're going to do, a rematch of the championship. Next up, tag team match, Kofi Kingston and R-Truth defeating the duo of Primo and Epico. Another good tag team match, very fun, a lot of good chemistry between these two teams. Primo and Epico losing, not all that much of a surprise. Kingston and Truth still WWE Tag Team Champions. I mean, not after this match, obviously. I mean, after this match, but it was not a title match. So, I'm not saying that the titles are on the line here, but Kofi Kingston and R-Truth have been champions for 4 months now, so I really hope they drop the titles to a team at Night of Champions. Because after we saw following the matchup, all the teams on SmackDown, just the WWE in general, just made this huge backstage segment, all attacking one another. So that was pretty intriguing. All 5 teams, I believe, Kingston and Truth were back there, Primo and Epico, primetime players, Usos, and then Gabriel and Tyson Kidd. So hopefully we get some kind of gauntlet match like we did in Night of Champions 2010. Hopefully we get something like that at Night of Champions 2012 for the WWE Tag Team Championships, and announce it beforehand and not at the event like we did at Night of Champions 2010. So hopefully they continue to put focus on the division going forward. Now we arrive at our main event, Alberto Del Rio versus Randy Orton. Another solid matchup. Again, we've seen this match a handful of times this year, so it was nothing all that out of the ordinary. But it was a good match, to say the least. Del Rio and Orton, I would love to see a single feud between them at some point in time. Maybe not right now, especially since we've seen so many matches between them lately. Maybe down the line at some point, maybe at a WrestleMania feud or something along those lines. Because I think that's what we were supposed to get at WrestleMania 28, from what I read. But Del Rio's injury prevented that. But nonetheless, this would be a good feud down the line because this match was really good. But the most shocking part about it was Del Rio forcing Orton to tap out clean, thus becoming the #1 contender to the World Heavyweight Championship again. So obviously the bad news is that Del Rio is still the #1 contender to the world title. We're going to get another match at Night of Champions for the World Heavyweight Championship. So that's kind of disappointing because we didn't even want to see this Money in the Bank, much less at Night of Champions coming up, or even much less than that at Over the Limit 4 months ago when they first started this feud. So I'm not looking forward to that, but I am glad that they made Orton tap out clean. How often do you see guys like Orton, a top face in the company, tap out clean, disregarding Triple H from this past Sunday with Brock Lesnar? So this is something that I just tweeted about and just pointed out. Look how many heels won clean this week. Miz won clean at SummerSlam. Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar, Antonio Cesaro with the U.S. title. Dolph Ziggler when he beat Jericho on Raw. Who else? And Alberto Del Rio did this past Friday night on SmackDown. So Del Rio defeating Orton this past Friday night on SmackDown. So there's a handful of heels that are winning matches clean these days. So I'm really, really, really glad that they're finally making heels credible again. So I'm really glad about that aspect about it. Hopefully they keep it up going forward. But anyways, back to SmackDown. Following the match, Del Rio was celebrating, and Dolph Ziggler came out and attempted to cash in on Sheamus, who was beaten down by Del Rio. Then following that, then Orton delivered an RKO to Orton. That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Orton delivered an RKO to Ziggler, thus preventing him from cashing in Money in the Bank. So that was pretty cool. Hopefully that's foreshadowing a feud between Ziggler and Orton. That would be an excellent feud going into Night of Champions. Sure, we've seen those guys battle quite a few times, but we haven't seen it enough times lately to the point where I don't want to see it. They could obviously put on a phenomenal matchup. And I'd love to see Dolph Ziggler go over clean at Night of Champions. If Orton can tap out clean to Del Rio, I'm pretty confident that he could do the same thing with Ziggler at Night of Champions. That would be a great feud. So that could be another good feud going into Night of Champions. So overall, a good episode of SmackDown tonight. A lot of nice action, a lot of good story building as well. We had some feuds end, some feuds start. So a lot of good stuff to look forward to going forward, especially going Night of Champions in the next month. And as I pointed out on Twitter, this episode of SmackDown just flew by. The 2 hours really just flew by for me. Maybe it was the fact that I was eating dinner throughout the show, but still, when time flies when you're having fun, and that statement rings true here. Really enjoyed SmackDown tonight. Really enjoyed Raw this week, and SummerSlam and Impact. So a really good week in wrestling as a whole. So again, make sure to check out all my all my links and stuff. Oh, and before I end the show, Tyler Reks was released this past Tuesday, I believe. It was made official. He was granted his release. As far as my 2 cents on that. Sad to see him go, but he did ask for it just to spend more time with his family, so that is an understandable and respectable decision. So I do commend him for that. Hopefully, he has good luck in his future endeavors, as John Laurinaitis would say. So hopefully we see him back in WWE at some point. Probably not, but I'm looking forward to where Kurt Hawkins goes from here, his former tag team partner. So anyways, I thank you guys for watching this week's WrestleRant. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to check out all the links that will scroll by in a minute. And make sure to check out SAVE US GSM for all the controversy regarding last night's show on Thursday night with @Heel by Design, all the shit that he pulled at the end of the show. Not good. Make sure to check that out on pw247.net. So I thank you guys, and make sure to enjoy your weekend. And this is GSM signing out. Till next time, guys.